to start creating those habits of reflection and self-awareness.
Yeah.
And then building into the external noise, because then you start becoming more aware of all the stuff going on around you. And sometimes there's external resistance, like people might be like, why are you spending so much time journaling? What's the point of that? Or people that being discouraging or whatever. So it's kind of becoming aware of that noise and working to kind of remove that as much as possible.
Okay.
And like we had talked about too, like even changing your environment, like what can you do to make your environment more of what you want it to be? Habits, environment, people in your life, the things you do online. What are you're on Facebook all the time or Instagram or whatever, with distractions. So kind of shifting that way. And then self-doubt. So that's kind of a big thing, is just once you start like listening to your own voice, then you have to deal with the doubt of it. Like, is this real? Should I listen to myself? Should I listen to these other people instead? So it's kind of facing that more directly as start getting into it. And then what I was thinking about is how like you have the like initial level of self-doubt, but I think underneath that there's a lot of internal wounds, like internal barriers and things that are a lot deeper. And so I kind of wanted to split that off from self-doubt. So self-doubt being one of the big barriers, but then once you begin to trust yourself, you're able to open up to seeing these deeper issues and
Mm-hmm.
being able to work through them and heal. And then lastly would be like in like the 90 days, we might start getting into some of those like inner wounds, but that's kind of an ongoing process. So what I would want to do is help my clients learn how to do that for themselves. So be
How to
able
repeat it
to,
over,
yeah.
you might be helping them get through like a wound or two, but
Mm-hmm.
the fact that they're having this ongoing life work, really taking
Right.
everything you've just learned and making it applicable.
Yeah. So when I want them to make sure they understand like how they go through that process so that they can do it on their own. So it's not just like the 90 days and they're done, but
Mm-hmm.
realizing they can take everything that they've learned and keep doing it on their own forever.
Cool. One thing to think about is that whenever you're taking people and they're exiting your 90 days, that kind
Mm-hmm.
of is a good thing to like, you can put it like this, because you want to, if you can, increase the lifetime value of your clients.
Mm-hmm.
And so you give them a way out
Mm-hmm.
that's like, now that you've done this, now they basically have two paths. Like, they've got tools now to do this, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not, they haven't been doing them for a long time. So they've got a new toolkit that they can go forward with. And
Mm-hmm.
then you also should leave them the option of having you like
Mm-hmm.
continue on in a
Right.
mentorship for them for like, maybe it's $250 a month and they just have access to you through one of
Mm-hmm.
your groups, and maybe they get a call a month or something. But
Mm-hmm.
like setting them up, or do something like $500 a month or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but
Right.
getting them to a place where you say, so now I've given you the tools and like you've really worked through some stuff. If you would like to continue working with me, then
Mm-hmm.
you should have an option for that too.
Right.
Because ideally, if they are really happy with what they got, they felt like they got their value, and then like they're going to be in a more of a momentum going space where they might even be like, now that their limiting beliefs are starting to get busted, they're starting to have more confidence. Like, they might just say, let's keep this train rolling. Like, now I know I've got bigger things I could do.
Right.
And so keeping that in mind, having like some
Mm-hmm.
continuity off the back end,
Right. That makes sense.
because ideally, once you start getting some clients rolling, you don't want to be in a place where like every month it's like starting brand new again. Like, you want
Mm.
some money to start rolling over,
Mm-hmm.
to where it's not like every 3 months client falls off, a whole
Right.
section of clients falls off, and now you just got to work from ground one again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just something to keep in mind there. But
Yeah.
yeah, that looks good. You've thought it out well. So today, let's get into actually, let me pull up this other homework. And then we'll get into actually going and looking for your ideal profile. I'll share my screen and we'll go through and look for that. So far, questions, comments, concerns on like what we've been doing so far?
Mm, I don't think so. Yeah, I
Okay,
think it's been, yeah, so far it's been really helpful.
cool. This is kind of a new format doing it in this way, so like, I want to make sure to get valuable feedback, and if
Mm-hmm.
there's something that you feel like I've left out at any time or you need some more
Mm-hmm.
clarity on, feel free to
Mm-hmm.
um, feel free to ask about any of those.
Okay.
Your I help statement.
Yeah, I
Um,
had like, so I wrote like three of my own
yeah,
kind of
perfect.
from yours, and so I wasn't really sure what I liked the best, so I wanted maybe your feedback on that.
Okay. And these ones underneath the example, those are the three that you
Yeah.
wrote. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's see. I hope you. I like number three
Mm-hmm.
the most, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I help young women seeking their purpose in life to break free from self doubt and connect with their own inner guidance. Like I liked that in two the best. Let me see what I liked from two. I think the seeking their purpose is an important part,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to identify with that because that's like that part in the back of your mind that's like, what the hell am I doing with my life? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and the self sabotage might be one of the parts of it, but sometimes it's harder for people to see that they're self sabotaging. They just feel stuck.
Right.
And so I think they'll probably, yeah. What was
Mm-hmm.
your initial leanings on those three?
Um, yeah, I felt like the first one I was trying to put like it just has too much going on in it. Um, I did like the intentional living like
Mm-hmm.
program or mentorship. So I liked that phrasing, so I was trying to figure out how to um include that.
So let's see.
Because I guess my only thing with the third one, I like that is just it seems very abstract.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the other ones, like they're talking about one-on-one like mentorship, so you kind of get more of an idea of what that actually might look like.
Yeah. Let me see how I would bridge those. Hmm. I don't know if necessarily the vehicle is as important
Mm-hmm.
as wanting them to connect with the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Okay.
I feel like if I was going to choose one, it would be the one that resonated with their goal the most. And
Mm-hmm.
then if their goal resonates, then in the conversation is where you can just be like, yeah, I do this in a really intimate one-on-one format. Like, what we start with doing is taking back the day one day at a time. And
Mm-hmm.
so like I don't overwhelm you, and like we're gonna like starting on day one, you're gonna start seeing things get a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like a process that we're going to do. So like addressing their overwhelm,
Mm-hmm.
addressing like the anxiety of feeling like they don't even, like you said, they don't even have hope in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So some of it's like, man, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do this. So like you taking into account like taking your life back one day at a time, like you would definitely, I could see that you understand that, like, and that's part of their, part of the process that they're going to need to go through. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
all looks good. Perfect. And yeah, like so everything. So I think we've got like, as far as like having you fill out this targeting, did
Mm-hmm.
you start feeling like you're starting to see a better picture of like how there really should be no problem with finding
Mm-hmm.
millennial women in all these different areas?
Right.
Okay, good. Um, and so we're going to go and start looking for them today. And
Mm-hmm.
this is going to be a process that you're going to start finding the places, the groups, the type of women, like within, you might find that women that are in the area that are starting up like online coaching businesses that similar to yourself that maybe like end up needing some of that help. You might
Mm-hmm.
find that like people, women in cosmetology or some sort of management roles, or you might find that there's one that you end up clicking with really well, and you'll start searching and trying to find more of those. But I
Mm-hmm.
think no matter what, even if you like had this list and you use these search parameters, you could find one person from each one if you really were looking for people. But I don't think it should be that hard.
Mm-hmm.
um, and then like for like the activities that they're involved in, like
Mm-hmm.
yoga, meditation, self-help books and courses, things like that, those will be more towards using those for groups and
Mm-hmm.
finding the groups that contain them.
Okay.
And so essentially we have like two ways that these organic leads that we engage with them. And so there's outbound and then there's inbound. Outbound is obviously any effort that we're making to go and connect with them first.
Mm-hmm.
And then inbound will be like once they're inside your network, whether that's like if you're commenting on a group and like you make a post that's intentional about some of these pain points. Like if you ever feel like you're running out of content, go back to your avatar worksheet and you can pull
Mm-hmm.
one line out of there and basically make a whole post around it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of times you kind of forget to go back, like go through all their problems. And it's like, so if you're going into like a millennial entrepreneur group that might have a bunch of girls that are trying to start up their business, that means they're meeting some of these other things like ambitious, compassionate, idealistic, lifelong learner type A. So like going into groups that are about furthering their education online, or say you go and find like a group where there's millennial females in it, then you'll make, and it's important with groups to not ever have any call to actions. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to say PM me, shoot me a DM, let me know if you want help. You just want to put content that like hits the right people right in their pain problem, and
Mm-hmm.
then wait for the ones to engage. Like, oh, I needed this so much, this was
Mm-hmm.
great. Then those people, you just go to each one of them, leave a comment that's like, thanks so much for commenting, glad that resonated, and add them as a friend. And
Mm-hmm.
then whenever they accept, then it's like as easy as like, hey, thanks for commenting on my post, what resonated with you about that, you mind if I
Mm-hmm.
ask? And then like you're right into a conversation with a qualified person. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to combine like building your network with like insulating yourself with good potential prospects.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the conversations are going to be started right off the bat, and like some of them are going to want to talk, and it's going to flow naturally into like being able to dig into their pain problems. And then some of them, it's going to be as much as like, hey, I've just saw you in suggested friends on Facebook, saw you're in so and so niche, or saw that we have 25 connected friends or whatever. It's good to meet you. And
Mm-hmm.
then from there, your content on your wall is meant to warm them up. Then looking at your profile after you add them, like it's going to draw some questions out from people.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm more so, whenever we're doing this, I want to teach it to you in a way that you can be creative and think on your feet. And like, so when we're going through the messenger frameworks, and it's going to be important to be able to understand kind of what we're trying to do with the framework and understand the situation that it works best in, because a lot of messaging back and forth with people is like thinking on your feet but within certain parameters. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
whenever you go like, let's actually get into it here. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so we basically have the Facebook search bar,
Mm-hmm.
which we can look for people or groups or organizations from. Then we have the groups themselves, which we can go through the members list, add new members just to be adding people into our thing. And then we can also engage in those groups to like get the people to identify themselves. And so that's like where some of the creative content comes in. And the
Okay.
same thing like that is going to happen on your wall. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm going to give you a messenger framework that is set up for the scenario. Like if you have a lead magnet or like you're putting together something that you can give to solve like a small part of the pain, and that will let people like if they want that thing, then you're going to know they're a good potential client. And so then we have a messenger framework that says like once they comment on your post and it's an incoming
Mm-hmm.
message, then we have basically we're in this spot where we have something that they said that they would like, and we're going to leverage that to figure out more closely where they're at. And we're still give it to them no matter what, but it basically gets the people to give us permission to dig into their pain a little bit
Okay.
because they've already identified that they have at least relate to this pain because they want your lead magnet. And
Mm.
so whether that's like one of the things is meditation. So you can make a lot of these little valuable lead magnets. And it's basically just like, instead of making a Facebook post about something, turn it into something that seems a little more valuable, like a PDF, a 5 minute guide, a 5 minute, 10-minute video meditation about like a topic which you would cover with your coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could put something up, and I'll give you examples of these too, but it's like, hey, I just created a 10-minute meditation that I'm using with my clients that helps to deal with like self-limiting beliefs. If you struggle with that, shoot me a comment and I'll be free to I'd love to give that to you. And
Mm-hmm.
then you get people that comment, and then so we have a framework that goes back in there and it says, hey, thanks for commenting, I'm going to send that training over to you. But I'd like to find out more about where you're at. Like I'm trying to get this into the right hands. Like are you okay if I ask you 2 or 3 quick questions? And then most people are just like, yeah, sure, fire away. And then
Mm-hmm.
that's where we are like, that's where we start to dig in and go, okay, what most made you want to have this 10-minute meditation or whatever? And it's like, well, I've been stressed in my life and I feel like I really need to connect with myself more. And so I thought that'd be something useful. And it's like, cool. They just told us a little bit more about themselves. And then it's like, so like, what's your goal with this meditation? It's like, so we're looking for their pain, we're looking for their goal, and then we're looking for their challenge. And it's like, well, they already said that, maybe they already said it, or you have to ask it, get it out of them. And it's like, well, I've just been really stressed and anxious, and I'm hoping that if I get some more me time, I'll be able to figure out like I'll be able to reconnect with myself, or maybe I'm trying to not be so stressed out, or whatever, I'm trying to get back to the place where I was. And so then you're starting to like evolve their situation a little bit more, and it's like well, what do you think your biggest challenge has been? Like, why do you keep getting stuck? And it's like, well, I think I keep getting stuck because I'm stressed out about my job, and like I'm really not happy with where I've been. So I just like keep getting in these negative mindset loops, or whatever, however the conversation would play out. And then so essentially what we've done is we've figured out like, yes, this is the kind of person I'm looking for. Like you've already done the work up front by scoping out the profile and creating like enough clarity around it to where all the people you're adding and you're commenting and having these conversations with already fit the general profile. And then you're going to have some people that are like, oh, well, I just thought it'd be interesting just to see the meditation. I'm not really struggling, don't have any problems, not looking for my life purpose. But and then it's just like, okay, fine, here it is. But this messenger framework will let you leverage that inbound interest,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to get those people into your network first. And so that's part of where adding these 20 to 30 people a day is going to start coming in more handy. And
Mm-hmm.
then having content that gets them to raise their hand or gets them to engage with you in some way. And then
Mm-hmm.
that engagement creates this thing where we can start going back and forth, and we can either give them something for free. We can, if you put a post and somebody's like, wow, that hit me right where I needed to, then anytime we get somebody to engage, that's an invitation for us to speak to them in person. And
Mhm.
then that invitation to speak to them in person, what we're always looking to do is like connect and then find out if we could potentially solve their problem. And if we can, then we encourage them to get on a call. And that's where we're booking more calls.
Mhm.
So I just wanted you to kind of have a clear picture that we're going to have this like, we're going to have this go and we're going to have this pull kind of thing with
Mhm.
organic. And instead of like having a Facebook ad that you're out there blasting to a whole bunch of people and it's just basically waiting to see who pings and responds to it,
Mhm.
doing some more of the work up front, getting a pretty good guess at who would be responding to this, adding them intentionally, and
Mhm.
then showing them that kind of stuff, but also
Right.
connecting with them on the background. So I'm going to go up here and we're going to just start looking for a few profiles. And the goal after we find and identify some of these profiles is for like part of the homework for you to do this is you're going to be adding some people.
Mhm.
You're going to be adding 20 to 30 people a day from here on out. And then you want to start building like your top 10, like a list of 1 through 10. And it's every time you find somebody that looks like a perfect fit, like this is exactly what I'm looking for, then you're going
Mhm.
to add them to that list. And eventually you're going to have a really coherent picture of your avatar.
Mhm.
And this will all get faster. So in the
Mhm.
beginning, you're kind of still learning who they
Right.
look like. You know, sometimes it'll take talking with people, speaking with people, and you'll start to see the similarities of what you're looking for. And so
Mhm.
in the beginning, this can seem a little more chaotic. It can seem like a little bit more just like you're fishing almost and hoping you're going to catch something. But really, with the clarity that we've got up front and just doing this consistently, like also, like I like having like giving myself like 10 conversations. It's really not that hard to start 10 conversations, and I don't make myself do any more than that.
Mhm.
It's like if I sit down and buckle down and start these conversations with the best profiles that I've added in the last day, like, and then you can feel confident that as long as you just do the small amount of work consistently, that
Mhm.
just starts snowballing. So you don't feel like you have to be out there just like on Facebook all day, scouring around looking for people. We're just going to do like 20 to 25 people a day, spending no more than 30 to 45 minutes looking for them. And
Mhm.
then like we'll go to we'll go to our recently added friends and we're going to see who accepted from the previous day. And then we're just going to go to their messenger and then we'll just say, hey, and we'll start with our intro, which is usually, it's super simple. It's like, hey, thanks for connecting. Facebook suggested that we should be friends. And and then I'll like go over to their profile and be like, I see you're a life coach. How long have you been doing that? Just
Mhm.
starting a simple conversation. And that, the idea of, hey, simple connection, finding rapport from their profile is
Mhm.
more important than like having the exact words to say to them every time, because each person, you might see that they're into cats or they're into dogs or that they're into, something that you can draw off of it that you can relate to. Like,
Mhm.
hey, thanks for connecting. Here's why I connected to you. Because a lot of people are like, why did you add me? And
Right.
so, like, a really simple one that nobody questions is like, Facebook kept suggesting we should be friends
Mhm.
and checked out your profile. Nice to connect. And so, we just want to build those initial connections. People are going to ask questions, but we're not trying to sell them right off the bat. We're not like looking for them and then trying to like, hi, thanks for connecting. You want to get on a strategy session with me in the next 5 minutes? Like,
Mhm.
there'll be some of those conversations where the person's like so primed and they're looking for the help that you're offering and they see your profile, they start asking you, and then you kind of just use the general framework to like, okay, so tell me about your situation. Great,
Mhm.
I understand that. And like, okay, like what are you struggling with? Okay, I see that. And where are you hoping to go? Like what would you want? Okay, so you're looking for like to just feel like you're living your life on purpose and like you have intentionality. Awesome. And like, what do you think's the biggest thing that's been stopping you from getting there? Well, I'm really struggling with self-doubt and I don't know, like, I feel like there's a lot of things I could do in life, but I really don't know what feels good to doing for me. And it's like, well, you know, and then that's where you relate. Well, I deal with a lot of people in this kind of situation, and sometimes they'll say like, well, I really think that it's just like I hate my job. And what it really is like they'll give you a symptom of their problem, and this is a chance for you to like show your first bit of real expertise.
Mhm.
And so like for instance, if somebody came to me and they were like, I just don't have any leads. Like there's no leads out there for my business, and that's why I'm not getting any clients. You know, something like what I would say would be like, well, I get a lot of clients that they think that their problem is leads, but really what it is that their offer and their message haven't been dialed in correctly, and they're not focused enough. So they don't know who they're looking for in the first place, and that's why they can't find them. Does that make sense? And the person's like, oh, like I don't even know what my actual problem is, and you can see my problem better than I can. And
Mm.
so like that point leads us to like, you give them a little bit of help, and it's like,
Mhm.
well, you know, in the script we go to something like, well, I've got to run soon, but I'd love to have a further conversation with you if you're interested. Would you want to chat sometime when you're free? And so that's the basic idea of what we're trying to do, is like identify their situation, do a like a basic pain dive of like, what is it that you're struggling with? And so sometimes our lead magnet helps us identify that, sometimes your post in your profile or your group, and then sometimes it's just that starting of the conversation, building the rapport, and then you get into like, well, what do you do? What do you do? You know, they'll ask you what you do, and you don't ever want to try to sell it. It's just mostly like, is if the most basic you can keep it and like draw interest. It's like, well, I help millennial women find their purpose in life. And if you're talking to a millennial women, instead of being like, well, I've got a 90-day coaching program, and it's just
Mhm.
like, what do you do? I help millennial females that are struggling to find their purpose to find their purpose. And then it's like, if they're struggling to find their purpose, they're going to either go like, they're most likely going to go, oh, how do you do that? Or like, can you tell me more about that? You know, but we really want to, we want to keep their interest with questions like that. Or a lot
Mhm.
of times people will suck you into the question of like, tell me about yourself. Like, and then they want you to like write this whole big thing. We really don't want to get into a position where it's their questioning, we're answering.
Mhm.
We want to think of it kind of like, people will talk about it being in the alpha position, and
Mhm.
it's not to be thought of as dominant, but it's to be thought of as leading.
Mhm.
And so like I like to think of it more as like, if you're dancing with a partner, there's always a lead partner,
Mhm.
and the whole thing flows smoothly if it's got this back and forth. And so whenever we get into the script, we're always wanting to end our response with an open question. And so even if somebody's like, what do you do? And instead of just like dropping a paragraph about what you do and then just leaving it open and waiting for them to respond, it would be more like, well, I help millennial females who are searching for their purpose to find purpose in life and feel fulfilled. What is, you know, what got you, what got you into cosmetology? Why did you get started? You know,
Mhm.
responding back with this, like, well, here's a little bit about what I do, but like, you never want to come across like you're trying to sell yourself. The worst thing that you can do is like, even if it is you're going for your first client, you never want the client to feel like you need them to be your client.
Mhm.
And you need to always remain in the space of that you have done the work to figure out a solution for them,
Mhm.
and that if they have this need, then it's in their best interest to work with you. And
Mhm.
so it's not like from a prideful place, it's not from a I've got something you want necessarily, but it is like to not get drawn into this justifying yourself to every lead,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of people out there who just like, you'll come across people that's just got a bad attitude. They don't want to be led. They don't want to listen, but they want to like qualify you. They want you to like prove yourself why you're even worth thinking, listening
Mhm.
to. People like that, you don't want them as clients, and that
Mhm.
you'll eventually come across them. But keeping in mind the pre-frame is what we call it with a lot of these conversations is as important as like the whole conversation itself. And so like you kind of have to abstractly see yourself leading them through this process. And it's almost like you're starting coaching and pulling things out of them before you've
Hmm.
even actually started that process. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it
Okay.
does.
So, all right, let's start with, we're going to actually start looking. You can see my screen, right?
Hmm.
Who do you think out of like the list of 10 professions, who do you think are like some of the top ones that your ideal female would be in?
Hmm.
I'd say maybe you would relate well with coaches and counselors because you're like in that area. So
Hmm.
like possibly coaches and counselors. I could see, I know some girls that have gone through nursing and end up like getting put through the ringer and not end up wanting to stay in nursing very long.
Hmm.
Like, so I know girls in nursing and cosmetology a lot of times
Hmm.
can be looking for a change of pace in their life.
Right.
Um,
I think maybe too the as far as like what I can relate to would be like marketing and sales or purchasing
mhm.
coming from like my background
Yeah,
in business. Like
perfect.
that's kind of similar to what I was doing.
Perfect. And so if we're looking at coaching, marketing, and sales, like in that realm, there's going to be lots and lots of potential people to find. And so, and you're not really, you're basically like in that situation, you're life coaching for like if a girl's like starting to try to be like a social media coach, trying to be an Instagram influencer, starting some sort of online business, and it's more so done around the idea of money, then like it's easy to show them like, hey, in your business, like your business would probably also perform better if you were like also in this fulfilled state and you were coming from like a place of an abundance out of your business. And
Hmm.
so versus like, if you're going, it wouldn't make sense that much sense to go for like a life coach who's helping other people work on their mentality. Like,
Hmm.
although a lot of, everybody can still use their own amount of help, but like, so business coaches would be completely fine. And so let's just go like, let's just type in coaches or coach. And then we're going to go to people
Hmm.
and then friends of friends. I always click this box
Okay.
because this is going to like start building your web of
Mm.
like people that are connected with mutual friends.
Hmm.
You can also like, depending on how you're trying to go about this, you can also use this filter to like filter by city. And
Hmm.
so it's like if you wanted to find yoga studio owners in an entire city,
Hmm.
you could like, if let's say this is just my town, friend of friends, and I put like, this is to just like find more practical people, like people could use this for like brick and mortar and stuff. But
Hmm.
like, so like, just like, this isn't that great of an example, but this is like a mutual friend. So like, depending on the types of people you're connected with too,
Hmm.
the that's gonna kind of go with the results. Um, Now your Facebook doesn't have, I don't think you have like a crazy amount of friends yet on Facebook. Is that right?
Yeah.
So whenever you're doing friends of friends at first, if you're doing that,
Hmm.
it's only going to list people here that, obviously the more friends you have, the more friends those friends have. So
Right.
clicking that friends of friends button will limit your research or your search
Hmm.
results a lot. And so start with that and then branch out and adding some other ones. What you don't want to do is you don't want to start seeing, like, as long as you stay between 20 and 30 people is like a really safe mark, and a good amount of people that you're adding have mutual friends, you won't get any of those like Facebook pop-ups that's like, if you start adding a bunch of people you don't know really fast, Facebook will pop up and warn you, and
Okay.
it'll say like only add people that you know.
Mhm.
And if it gives you that message like 10 times, it may like let you stop sending friend requests for 24 hours. And then, and it's probably less than 10 times. I've never actually got banned by Facebook,
Mhm.
and I've not, probably in a year, I've never got that message doing this every single day once I started targeting mutual
Mhm.
friends and friends of friends.
Okay.
And I could pretty much add as many as I want that. And I've never seen a downside to it,
Mhm.
but that gets easier doing friends of friends the more that you get people into your network.
Okay.
And so for like here, I'm looking for coaches, um, or let's say we're looking for business coach. And now I'd start going through the profile, and it's like, we'll probably find just through like my mutual people, like people that would possibly be good fits for you.
Mhm.
And so what we're starting to look for here is like, if you're helping with just females, and obviously like our eyes can instantly block these guys out. If
Mhm.
you're searching for millennials, it's like your eye, like, this woman is not a millennial. And so, the basic thing of what you're looking for, which really this first one is like a decent idea of, I'd say she's probably a little bit further along than what you're looking for,
Mhm.
as far as like, but it's really hard to tell because you're doing stuff with mindset, right? So you never know really what somebody's struggling with.
Mhm.
Being that this girl's like putting a lot, looks like, into her business, she's certified life and business coach. Like, she might not be, this might not be a great example of somebody who's maybe looking for their life purpose. But like, what we would be looking for is like profiles that look like they're a little bit more just starting. And
Mhm.
so like, the difference between this girl's profile and the last one is it definitely looks like this girl's profile is a little less well put together
Mhm.
and a little bit more all over the place. But like, I can see like that she's, doing some sort of training post, and she's posting about her business, and it's only got one like, one comment, two comments, one comment, one like. And so whenever I would look at this profile, I would look at this as somebody that is attempting, they've already put the effort forth to start getting their business. Like, this looks like somebody that would possibly use some assistance.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
so that's what you want to start looking for.
Mhm.
And again, that's going to build out the more and more that you do this, that's going to
Mhm.
get more clear. But you have an educated guess at like that they could possibly be right where you need them to be. And so, you know, and then even some of these things might end up being like, you might add them anyways and create a connection with them because it looks like they're rowing in the same direction as you. And it
Mhm.
might be like, you might end up hitting it off with somebody and like being able to come on their Facebook group and do a live interview, or like,
Mhm.
you might end up like keeping people in mind to do like joint ventures. Like, this girl here, she is like helping women launch and grow their businesses, and it might be that she doesn't do as much with the mindset side of things as she does for the business side of things. And so it's
Mhm.
like, you might have some, you're not going to try to help them build businesses, right?
Right.
And so it's like, finding people like that you can cross refer with sometimes is
Mhm.
helpful. Like, I've sent people really valuable leads before that just weren't exactly what I was doing. And so, you can keep things like that in mind. I don't know if business code, what's an, let's see, like, So like another one of those is like people in marketing and sales. And so like you could do like people that identify themselves as like social media marketing strategist.
Okay.
Um, thinking of just the different search
Mhm.
parameters that they would maybe list themselves as. And so it's like, you know, this girl here's millennial girl. She's pushing, trying to do a business for social media strategy. And so when you're approaching, a lot of like somebody in this realm, like how it would relate to what you're doing is like part of that is like the solo entrepreneur journey for a lot of people is like not feeling like they have support, not feeling like they, you know, a lot of it is like that loneliness side of things. So there's like a lot of ways to like get into the fact that they're not feeling fulfilled. So
Mhm.
just because they have a business page that looks good or whatever doesn't mean that they really couldn't use somebody just to like help them along their journey and support them. And like a mindset coach could be really what they want, because
Mhm.
we can't always judge what someone's Facebook profile looks like, or most of the time, by how they're actually doing. And
Right.
so then like whenever we're getting into those intro questions, like if it's somebody that you don't know if you can help or not, thinking of questions like relating with them, like in one way would be like, yeah, I know it can be, I found that it can be tough sometimes, like doing this on your own. What's your entrepreneur journey been like? Has it been pretty easy, or have you ran into like some rough patches? And
Mhm.
like just getting people to, you have to naturally think of a way that doesn't come across salesy and is genuine to like figure out like, some people will just straight lie to you. They're in the fake it till they make it. They're looking at other people's profiles. They're feeling like they don't have permission to be vulnerable. And
Mhm.
so like creating a space where like you can open up a little bit of vulnerability, like, yeah, I'm still new in my entrepreneur journey too. And I started this because actually of my growth through like, if you would have seen me X amount of years ago, I would have never started my own business and I would have never started trying to help people. But like coming through and understanding how to overcome X, Y, and Z, put me in the position that I am. And that's probably going to echo back to like where they're at. Like, yeah, I was struggling too. And like, I'm having a lot of self doubt. I just launched my business and like, I'm doubting whether or not I can do this. And it's really coming down to mindset stuff with them. And so then, you have an in.
Mhm. Okay.
Um, Going over to who groups. So, you know, there's going to be men and women in a group like this. Like, I know this is a good group. You could probably, if you're not a part of this one, I would join it.
Mhm.
This is the millennial entrepreneur community. And so you're starting off with people in the right age bracket. And so now what you're looking for is like, the female side of things, basically. And so whenever you go into a group, I like to start with members with things in common.
Mhm.
I always skip over, like, you're going to have the admins and moderators. You don't want to really be adding them, especially if you're prospecting through groups. And then it's like, I've got all my friends. I've got 315 friends in this group. And then it's like friends with things in common are also like, you can basically add as many of these people as you want without Facebook thinking it's weird.
Okay.
And so then it's like, if I'm looking for your avatar, like I'm going down, and basically you just want to fill your, you want to fill your friends with female millennial women who are driven, ambitious, and would possibly be looking to like find their purpose in life. And
Mhm.
that's the main things that we're looking for. And so you just, this group I knew was going to be like a large amount of guys, but I would go through and there's like 1, 2, a lot of guys. And so, like, this will be part of going into a few groups, and you're going to find ones like this one. If this one is, I don't actually use it for my own either, because it's more like there's a lot of people that are doing like ads, SEO,
Mm,
fitness, lots of men, but the idea is still the same. And so, like, like a lot of girls nowadays, like their things are calling boss babes, like finding groups where basically like using words that, this could be a good one, manifestation babes. Like, you're going to get a lot of the type of women
mm,
that are like in the spiritual law of attraction, manifestation,
mhm.
um, you know, looking up law of attraction coaches could be another one, good one of you. Or, anybody in that, like you could do like law of attraction groups. I usually find the ones that have like an absurd amount of people, like 50K plus,
Mhm.
end up being full of spam. And so, like,
Mm.
I try to stick to like 15 to 20,000 members or under.
Okay.
And so that's just kind of a general, like, so this one here is like got 16,000 people in it. It's 76 new posts today. So it's like a very active group.
Mhm.
And then I would just go into a group like that where it's going to have like, people that are thinking about their mind, they're thinking about manifesting better things in their life, they're
Mhm.
like on an active pursuit for what you're looking for. And so you're going to find a few groups like that that just work well. They're, if I was in this one, I just go straight to members and I just start looking through new members and
Mhm.
finding millennial females.
Okay.
What's it? Let's think of another one. Like daily meditation. There's 630 some odd people in this group that are just there around meditation and self-improvement. Like, there's pretty much countless
Mhm.
amounts of groups on self-improvement. And so finding these containers that attracts people and then just going in and siphoning off the ones that
Mhm.
hit our.
So, since I don't have a lot of friends, like I'm probably not going to go into one of these groups and find people that I have mutual friends with. So, is it
you'll
okay?
find you'll find some, but at that point it's you just want to keep within your search
So just
parameters. And so
well, I
just
guess
like you're just trying to not go over like 20 to 30 a
okay. So
day.
it is okay to add
Yeah,
people that
it's
I
okay
don't.
to add people that you're not friends with. You just like, I mean, there's accounts that go out there and they try to add 100 people a day that are complete
Yeah.
strangers, and they just like flag it in the Facebook system.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
and so, commenting on putting a post, and then people that comment under your group, like
Mhm.
you
Okay.
basically want like you want a good success rate of people accepting your friend request. So if you're not, if your profile reflects that you're relevant to them, and then
Mhm.
they see your friend request and go, oh yeah, this girl looks like she
Mhm.
possibly,
Yeah.
whenever your profile is reflecting who you're adding, you
Mhm.
usually get really high acceptance rates. And that's not something you should have to worry about. But
Mhm.
it's just something I wanted you to keep in mind for the
Yeah.
beginning as you're like getting your Facebook up and going,
Yeah.
that the newer the account, it does make things, you're basically just having to teach the Facebook algorithm who you're looking
Mhm.
for. And so you're going to find, out of these things that we put here, you're going to find ones that seem to work better than others, and just kind of
Mhm.
narrow it down to like top 3 or 4 type of people that you search for, top 2 or 3 groups that you engage in. And that should give you within 30 or 45 minutes of like looking specifically what you're looking for, you should be able to do that a day and
Mm-hmm.
start adding them into your friends.
Okay.
And then you basically just want to keep track of, like, even, you can even just do like little checklist and like say, okay, like I'm going to check every time I add one. Once I get to 30, like, and then the next day seeing how many friends accepted. And so it's like, all right, well, I
Mm-hmm.
added 30 yesterday and I got, 15 of them or 20
Mm-hmm.
of them that have accepted already. Like, that's pretty good. Like, if you add 30 people and you only get like one new friend every other day and everybody's rejecting your request, there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see that happening.
Now, to find your recent friends, because I barely ever use Facebook, where do
Mhm.
I go to see like who I've has recently
Yeah.
accepted?
So they're going to pop up.
Oh, in the
Some of them
messages.
are going to pop. So a lot of times they'll pop up in your messenger like
Mm-hmm.
this, like say hi to your new friend.
Okay.
And so that's a good way of just like doing it from right in there, especially if you do it quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like to like friend them. And then if they if they answer right, then I don't always like to jump straight into trying to talk to them. I'll maybe give it a little bit, but you go to your main page
Mm-hmm.
and then you click on friends and then you click on recently added.
Okay.
And so clicking on the recently added will like bring you in,
Mm-hmm.
it'll usually keep like the most recent like 100 or 200 people, especially when you're doing this regularly. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'll come over to my recently added friends like each day, and basically I'm just looking to start a conversation with 10 of these people.
Mm-hmm.
and and some of them will respond, some of them won't, but like basically like I'll, out of the top, say I get, every time I get 15 new friends added or so, like I'll just do like a quick snapshot of their profile. And, some people you're going to be able to hold it over there and you'll be able to see their
Mm-hmm.
cover photo and you'll be able to kind of you'll see the mutual friends that you have. And so it's like, and then you can go straight into messaging the person from there. or
Okay.
you or you might pick the profile and it's like, all right, yeah, this is one of the guys I want to talk to, and then this is,
Mm-hmm.
you can lower these down and you can even just like start a running list of the ones that you want to have a conversation with.
Mm-hmm.
And then, sometimes I'll go over, check their profile out, open a messenger box, go back, and then I'll just start reaching out and connecting with them. And the first thing we want to do is we want to get a conversation started. Like, even if it's just, hi, thanks for connecting with me.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a response back, hey, thanks for adding me, whatever. We can consider that like a successful initial connection. And then if we're looking at their profile and we're like, all right, this person's like an 8 out of 10, um, you basically have two choices. Like, no matter what, you're going to get resistance from some people that you want to try to figure out if you can be a good, figure out if they're in the place. And
Mm-hmm.
so some of them, it's just going out and like, let me give you an example. Like, this girl says she's a speaker, story influencer, body language, charisma coach, step into your signature star power. So like, if I was going to message her, I would be like, here, I'll just do this right now. And I'm going to give you this framework. Be like, brain's not moving as fast as it does at the beginning of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Holly, connect. And we like to do things in like short messages, like almost like you would be sending a text to a friend.
Okay.
And we don't want them to be formal, and we don't want them to like look like, we never want your message to ever look like you've sent it to the same person, over and over
Mm-hmm.
again. So it's like, hey, Holly, good to connect. I'll hit enter. And then like, I like doing this little parentheses thing. Facebook kept suggesting we should be friends. And then like I'll look at their profile and I'll find something that I can relate with or a question that I can ask to leave it open-ended. And so, you know, with her, I would maybe say something like, I see you're a charisma coach. Kind of clients you usually work with. Now, business, dealing with people around their business is a little bit different than dealing with, you know, like if I was you and I was dealing with mindset, it's going to be like a little bit more, or like they're dealing with their life purpose and stuff. You're going to need to like build a little bit more rapport up front, if that makes sense. So it's like try to connect like with something on a personal level. So it would be like, I'll just send that. It would be like, you know, really love your profile picture. If they're in business, it's like you could say something like, you know, when did you know, or, you know, what got, find them in a yoga group. What got you into doing yoga? What, you find them in a business coaches group, and it's like, what made you decide you wanted to start your own business? Well, I was looking for my purpose. I hated looking for all these jobs, you know, like the common thing that would, you're basically already having answers you're looking for that would be common themes, but you're asking questions in a way that would get that information out. And so, and again, it's a little bit hard to pull those questions for like each individual person, because it's more so seeing what you could identify with off the information you're given that you have to look at. And so it's like, let's look for a therapist, or like, so like cosmetology group is not a bad idea, or somebody who puts in their bio that they're a cosmetologist. And like, you'll find little pockets too. Like you'll find, it's almost like a vein of striking gold. Like you'll realize, like when you're looking under like cosmetologist, then you realize like, oh my gosh, there's like a ton of girls that are most likely looking for something better, and they've gotten some sort of skill for themselves, but they're possibly not happy with it. And like you could, you know, you'll start to see a common theme like that. So it's like, there's going to be more millennial cosmetologist females than there's going to be millennial lawyers. And so just because of the length it takes to go through school, just because of the barrier to entry. And so it's like this girl, you know, right here, I'd be like 1, 2, cosmetologist, dental surgeon, like, and some profiles are just fake. Like I'll usually look if they've only got like 100 friends, 200 friends, they've got like some like stock looking footage, like obviously you don't want to add them. And so, yeah, there could be lots of really good cosmetology leads. You know, if you run out of people to search there. And see, I don't have a lot of people in my network that are in that area, so it makes like if I were to just click friends of friends, like I'm gonna get just like these two that show up. And so that means like while you're building that, it's going to be a little bit more searching. But then if people aren't working, go over and look at groups, and it's like licensed cosmetologist, 10K people. Now, some of these groups, I mean, if they have a question to get into it, like, are you a cosmetologist? Like, they're not going to make you provide your licensing or anything. That's kind of up to you if you want to. Sometimes you'll just have to answer random questions to get into a group. Right. They're most likely just putting up a barrier because they're trying to sell something to people in the group. And so, there's even like specific areas of cosmetology. You might go into like permanent makeup. It's like a lot, sometimes they're basically just like, there's a chance they've got a little bit more money than a cosmetologist does because it's still in the same field, but it's still going to be full of like a lot of the same kind of people. And so that's going to take a little bit of, figuring out what works best for you.
Right. Okay.
And so that, let me send you a few of these documents over on Messenger. So I'm going to send you this messenger flow chart. This I took it off of a PDF, and so you'll kind of have to zoom in on it, but this is like one template of a conversation. And
okay.
And I'm going to give you a couple others. This is kind of just like in a bubble format, and tell me if you open it and if you're able to look at it. So this is a really good way to handle your conversations that take them all the way. And a lot of the different frameworks we're working off of will seem pretty similar because essentially they're all based off of a book called Spin Selling.
Okay.
And so if you've ever heard of that book, it's like, every large selling organization in the world, the psychology of selling is just the same. And so this gives us like a way to understand the flow through a conversation, but the specifics of the question themselves are going to you're going to have a way of saying it that would feel best to you, the type of person you're saying it to. So like, we'll walk through this one just real quickly here. And so you'll see over on the side, like it's got intro, rapport, pain, authority, increasing the gap. Like this is just basically a way of taking the framework to where by the time they get onto the call with you, it's really been set up like they need help, and you might have some help to offer them. And so a lot of this training comes out of business selling. And so some of the language sometimes is a little more pushy or a little more leaned like out to where like a lot of the way that people teach sales in more business minded niches is that like, I've got something you want, I'm going to lean away from you and make you come to me. And like, and sometimes it's like the pain dive's really meant to make them feel the pain more, which if somebody's really in pain and they're just trying to hide it, like it's our job as a coach to help them dig in a little bit. But just keep in mind that you can soften or go a little the other way depending on the type of person you're talking to. But like with your niche, and it's more dealing with vulnerability, and it's dealing with like, deeper life issues and connecting to yourself, just keep in mind that it's okay to follow the framework. But if you feel like there's a softer way to do it or a more appropriate way in the conversation, that you have that ability.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So starts like, you know, hey Savannah, thanks for connecting. And then like the next thing is we have why you're reaching out. So like a lot of times I just use that Facebook suggested we should be friends, but this could be like, I found you in the, I found you in the Facebook
Mm-hmm.
group that I was a part of. And so I just thought I'd add you. And then like, how did you get into blank topics? So it's like, it might be, how did you get into business coaching? What made you decide to get into cosmetology? What,
Mm-hmm.
if they just have something about their hobby on there, like they enjoy so and so, or like, they got a family on there. It's like anything that is just basically rapport building.
Okay.
But it's best if it like can tie into eventually where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we write for the response. And then like this one was designed for like the fitness
Mm-hmm.
niche, and so it's like, nice, so how's your fitness journey been going so far? If you find them in a personal development group, a yoga group, um, whatever it might be, that the commonality there is,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, great, so you know how's your yoga practice been going lately? And then we have like what they call a frame drop. And so that is basically just like coming up for air for a second from the script. It's like breaking character for a second or something. So like in this one here, it's like, just waiting on my Uber, smiley
Mm-hmm.
face, whatever. And then we start moving into the pain. It's like, and I need to adjust my monitor better. So then we move down into like the pain dive number 2, which like the pain dive number 1 is where we're just asking about the current situation. It's not really like, so if it's really going to be situational here.
Mm-hmm.
And so, asking an appropriate question, but the first thing we are trying to understand that we're getting is like their situation, then their pain, then their goals, their perceived challenge, are like the 4 bits of like that we need. We need somebody that's in a pain, and we need them to want to get out, and we
Mm-hmm.
need them to think that we need them to have basically say they can't do it on their own, or they've been struggling. And
Right.
that's what makes, somebody that would actually need the offer.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, would love to hear more about, if they're just like, well, I've been really struggling lately or whatever. And it's like, I'd love to hear more about your situation. What's been the biggest challenge so far?
Mm-hmm.
And then they tell you their situation. And then it's like, would you mind telling me a little bit more about that? And so this is like a way to kind of expand it open. Like they might have like sugar coated it, dropped it into a small thing. Well, I've just been dealing with anxiety. Would you mind telling me a little bit more about that anxiety? Wait for the
Mm-hmm.
response. Okay, got you. Yeah, that I understand. That's huge. That makes sense. The little tag words in between aren't as important. And so like this is the next spot, it goes into authority, and it's like, they tell you they're dealing with anxiety, they're telling you dealing with struggling with purpose. It's like, okay, yeah, I see this with a lot of, you know millennial females that are struggling to find their purpose. Or yeah, I see that a lot with people our age, because you're relating with them.
Right.
And then it's like, so where do you want to be in like 6 months from now? Like how would you like your life to be different in 90 days? What's the goal? Like this is basically like relating with them. And then like, so you want out of it, right? And then they'll tell you, well, in 60 days, or they might go down to the no hope thing straight away, and like,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I don't know if I'm ever going to get out of this. And then it's like,
Right.
so then you're starting to get like through questioning it that way, you're
Mm-hmm.
starting to get down to where it feels natural to, well, I've got a resource, or like, would you like to talk some more about that? Because if a girl responds like to the no hope thing, like, well, I've been dealing with anxiety for the last year, and I've I can't even remember not feeling anxious. It's like, well, some of my clients and like some of the people that I specifically work with deal with these exact issues. And I'd love to talk to you some more about that, because there's no reason you have to be anxious 6 months from now.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like giving them hope, setting it up to talk with them. And so we move from their challenge, like where they want to be in 90 days or so. It's like, okay, that's an awesome goal. And then this is where like the question, what do you feel is missing to achieve that goal? What do you think is your biggest challenge getting there? What do you think has been keeping you back so far? Why do you think you've been stuck here? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think? All those are the same essential question of their perceived challenge. And so
Right.
that's, one of the important bits of information we're looking for. And then, people are going to give you all kinds of different responses. And this is where you'll start to get common responses, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
start to be able to tailor your responses a little bit better. Um, so like, for instance, where this, like his response here in this script is geez.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people will say ouch. Like, I've seen this
Mm-hmm.
script come through all kinds of different marketing, and it works really well, but like I like to use it a little bit differently. This is like a short like response like this to somebody that says, well, I've been working for 6 months and I've only made $500 in the last 6 months on my business. That's more of an appropriate, like, ooh, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's not very good, right? And like, you kind of give them back like that's not very good. With I had a guy that just went through $10,000 program. I talked to yesterday. He went through a $10,000 coaching program for fitness trainers, and they use a very similar process to this. Comes out of one of the same companies that trained some of the same people. And so like, he was using a script that was similar to this, but it was written by a whole bunch of like kind of bro guys, like in a fitness business, and his business was to females looking to lose weight. And
Mm-hmm.
he was using the same things like, how much weight have you lost in the last 6 months? Oh, only a pound. Geez. Like, and like making them feel worse about it. And like, he sent me the script he was using, and he spent $10,000. He's done with that program, and he's not made even close to his money back. So he was coming
Mm-hmm.
to me like, I need help.
Right.
And so like, I went through, talked with him a bunch about who he was targeting, and then he sent me over that script, and my response was just like, this bro marketing is not going to work for females. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot, what they want is like an open, vulnerable space where they can feel safe, and like, they
Mm-hmm.
want a coach that's going to help them get through their mindset issues and all the, the
Right.
self-critic. And so like, keeping that in mind, like, they're already like, if you're talking to somebody who's already their worst judge, then you don't need to do like a pain increase on them.
Mm-hmm.
But you might, instead of that, do like a relating to their pain. And so like, going into like a solidarity with it, like, I know that really hurts, or I know that really sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you're not dismissing the pain, but like, coming into it with them like, wow, I'm sorry to hear that, like, that you're struggling with that. And I
Mm-hmm.
totally get that, because I've been there and a lot of my clients are there. But
Right.
just so you know, there is hope. And so
Yeah, that makes sense.
cool. So like, the person would put like, well, I think I've been stuck for X reason. And it's like, okay, yeah, that makes total sense. That reminds me of one of my clients. She was struggling with anxiety, and she just thought she wasn't ever going to find her purpose. And really what we started doing was taking things one day at a time. And before she knew it, she was already out of that hole and seeing things in a whole new way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like, or if you don't have like a client result yet, you can just say something like, yeah, that reminds me of when I was struggling with X
Mm-hmm.
amount of problem, where I had a friend that was struggling with this. Any way that like, you can relate the
Right.
answer back in a story, then the better. Sorry, one second. Kiddo just got home. So.
Oh, okay. I did just realize the time too. I have to get going here in a few minutes.
Okay, okay. So let's get through this the rest of the way through this, and then I'll send you over all the different forms that we've got there. Do you feel like, as far as what we covered on prospecting, like you're equipped to go out and start adding some people?
Yeah, I think it's a good start.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I might have more questions as I
Yeah.
go, but it definitely helped to see you doing the searching and stuff.
And like I'm gonna be available to you for a couple of weeks, like through Messenger after our calls, to where like
Mhm.
you're feel free to shoot me screenshots, feel free to compile like little questions, and we'll
Mm,
we'll make sure that
okay.
you're comfortable with the whole process.
Okay. Yeah.
How many minutes till you got to be off of here?
I gotta leave in about 5 minutes.
Okay, we'll go through this relatively quick. Um, so whenever we're getting down to actually moving them to the call, this is kind of the important part. Like some of this, like their pain or their challenge, or that can be out of sequence. Like maybe at
Mhm.
first, like you might find their challenge first, and then like you really just want those points of information. And I've got that more detailed in the other framework.
Okay.
And so from here, we're looking for people that actually are ready to change things. And so it's like, well, this is your challenge. This is what you've been going through. I think I might have some thoughts to share with you on that, but I've got to ask, is this something that's like really important for you to change right now? Or is this even a priority? And so we're looking for people that this is like a priority, like it's an actual
Mhm.
pain point for them. And if they're just like, I wish this would be better, but I'm not really concerned about it, then
Right.
there's not a whole lot of that you can do with that.
Yeah.
And so at any point, people can end up dropping out of the framework. You just move on to the next
Hmm.
conversation. And so it's like, well, would you like some help from that? If I set up some time that we could get some clarity around exactly what you need to do to reach blank goal, would you want to hop on a call, wait for a response? And then it's like, if they ask you about pricing, we we've got like a little pricing go around here. It's like, well, I don't normally talk about my offer or my pricing before I've got to know if you're a great fit or not. So, if we have
Hmm.
that conversation and you're a good fit, then we can talk about that. And
Hmm.
so we're not looking to try to feel like we want the call first before we talk about anything about helping them. And
Right.
people respect that, like, well, I don't know that I can help you even, so I'm not going to tell you about what I would charge you,
Hmm.
because first I just want to know if I can help you, if that sounds all right. And then so it's like, all right, let's go ahead and set up a time that works for you. And I'll drop the link below and we can have a chat then. After you book, just let me know. I'll leave my chat window open. You drop your calendar link, and that I'll leave my chat window open, gets them to like book it right then.
Mm.
But this is basically one of the frameworks. This is kind of just a way for you to see it visually, like how I like to
Hmm.
break it down. I'm going to send you another one that is more, it's in a document and it's like lined down and it has a few more like suggestions on questions. That one you can edit with your own personal questions. It would
Okay.
be more fitting because the way I'm sending it to you, it's looking for business coaches,
Hmm.
and we just have to keep in mind that you're not looking for business coaches, and
Right.
make the questions relevant to what you are looking for.
Hmm.
And then I'm going to send you like a five, or like the steps each day for prospecting. So it's like
Hmm.
talks about the groups, talks about the inbound versus outbound. And
Okay.
so I'll have all that to you.
Hmm.
And then, like I said, feel free to ask questions. If for some reason in this time we don't get something clear, we can do another call to
Okay.
clear up stuff too.
Hmm.
So I'll let you get off here. I will send that stuff over to you, and then we'll set up your next call the next couple days.
Okay. Perfect. That's
Okay.
great. All
All
right.
right.
Thank you
Have a
so
good
much.
night. Yeah.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.